Oh, darling, perhaps one day we'll be together again in the afterworld. Welcome to an extra spooky, scary episode of Books, the JCAM Library's book recommendation show. I'm your ghoulish host, Jocelyn Codner, the reference and outreach librarian. And today we're going to get into some horror and horror-adjacent book recommendations. Halloween is right around the corner, and I have made it my personal mission in life to make sure that you have all of the best spooky books and stories to get you through that most glorious of weekends. Before we get into our book recommendations, I do have a few events to mention. First, we have another Scare the Stress Away Spooky Crafts and Meditations event tonight, that's October 27th, from 4:30 to 5:30 in room 309A in the JCAM library. This week's event is all focused on the art of horror, and it's inspired by The Cipher by Kathy Koja. What we'll be doing is bringing in different works of art throughout history and cross cultures, and they're a little spooky. These works are kind of meant to invoke horror and fear and examine life through that lens. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring those images to our event tonight, and you can use them as inspiration for your own art. I'll leave a link to tonight's event with all the details and registration in the description. The next event that I'm really excited to talk about is our Day of the Dead virtual celebration. The JCAM Library has been partnering with Modern Languages, ODEI, and counseling services for the past few years to bring Chatham a wonderful Day of the Dead celebration. You get to learn about the international holiday, you get to participate in some of the holiday's customs, and you get to explore ways to healthily examine and engage with grief. This is a really wonderful event series. I have been honored to be a part of it for the past few years, and I really hope that you'll all join us. It's on November 2nd in the evening, and I will leave all of the event information, registration, links, etc. in the description so you can check it out and register if you're interested. It's all on Zoom, so make sure you register in advance so you'll get the Zoom link to participate on November 2nd. All right, it's time to get spooky. First up is an amazing short story collection called Friday Black by Nana Kwame Ajayi-Brenya. This is a really great collection if you're interested in darker genre fiction, but maybe you're not entirely sure where to start or if you'll even like it that much. Nana Kwame really explores different edges of horror in this collection. I would say it's horrific, but perhaps a little bit more horror adjacent. We get stories that might be better classified as speculative fiction or science fiction in here, but they're all pretty dark and darkly funny, and definitely entertaining. Friday Black examines a lot of social and cultural issues like racism, capitalism, and gentrification. We have an interesting version of zombies in this collection. We have a story that plays with time travel and time loops, which I love. That one is really dark and quite brutally graphic, just FYI. Now that I'm thinking about it, there is a bit of gore in Friday Black, just, so everybody's aware. And Nana Kwame also flips the script on certain narratives that we're used to. Friday Black is also a pretty slim book, as you can see, so the stories are very energetic, exciting, and quick to get through. If you want to pick something up to read while you're cozy on the couch this weekend, eating all of that delicious Halloween candy that you definitely bought for trick-or-treaters, Friday Black is absolutely the book to pick up. You can check it out from the JCAM library today. My next book is for fans of animated classics such as The Nightmare Before Christmas and Corpse Bride, and that is The Graveyard Book by Neil Gaiman. I guess if you like the animated classic Coraline, which is also based on a Neil Gaiman book, you'll also like The Graveyard Book as well. I was trying not to double dip there, but if you like Coraline, you'll like The Graveyard Book. The Graveyard Book follows perfectly normal boy, Nobody Owens, who goes by the nickname Bod. Bod is totally normal. There's absolutely nothing weird about him, except that he lives in a graveyard, and all of his friends are ghosts. This is admittedly a little strange, and Nobody is not stupid. He knows that something is weird about his life situation. Bod is pretty entertained by living in the graveyard. There's plenty to explore, lots of hidden realms and interesting characters to meet. But if Bod leaves the graveyard, he's in danger of being targeted by the same man who killed his family. He doesn't really remember a whole lot about his family. They were killed when he was young. Bod makes a decision. he decides he wants to know what happened to his family, and he wants to learn about who he really is. This is a really heartfelt book. It's genuinely scary at points, even though it's technically middle grade. I don't think anybody would feel like they were reading something that was dumbed down or meant for children when they're reading the Graveyard Book. It's genuinely frightening at points, and it might make you shed a tear or two. This is good for folks who are interested in horror but maybe don't want anything too gruesome. That's The Graveyard Book by Neil Gaiman, and you can check it out from the JCAM library today. As a lover of Gothic horror and a huge fan of literary giants Daphne du Maurier and Shirley Jackson, I had to include a little something Gothic in this list. And that book is The Fifth Child by Doris Lessing. The Fifth Child was written in 1988, so it isn't quite a contemporary of The Haunting of Hill House or Rebecca, but it's still a wonderfully creepy modern Gothic tale. And also, just to point out, it's again pretty slim. The Fifth Child starts off following a newly married couple who have a deep understanding of how they want their future life to look. They want a big, grand house that's full of children and warm with family gatherings and laughter and stories and delicious meals. It sounds really lovely, and I myself am kind of jealous of that vision. The thing is, they almost get there. They almost get their wish. Once they start having children, they have them pretty quickly. And before they know it, they're up to 4 beautiful, energetic, exciting kids. They buy this big, grand old house in the English countryside. They fill it with friends and family on all the holidays, and everybody is delighted to be there and having such a wonderful time. It's everything they wanted. It's their dream. Unfortunately, it's not quite as perfect as it seems. First of all, 4 children and a giant house in the countryside, that costs some money. These two are not that wealthy. They don't have a lot of resources themselves, so they rely a lot on those family members to support them and this big dream of theirs. That causes a lot of stress, as you can imagine. As their holiday parties get more and more opulent and popular, more and more friends and family decide to crash when it comes time for Christmas and Easter. This, of course, causes more and more pressure around these parties and making them as amazing and fun and accommodating as they can be to all the guests. And then the real kicker, the fifth child. Our couple has plans for 8 kids, or more. They're playing it fast and loose. They were hoping to take a little bit of time off, though, before completing their brood. But, whoops, pregnant again! And this 5th pregnancy is a real doozy. It's incredibly difficult and starts to cause problems for the entire family, not just the mom. But once the kid is born, the real problems begin. There's something just not right about this baby. In fact, he seems a little terrifying. People start to become afraid of the 5th child. And as he grows and becomes more and more of a burden on his parents, he ends up ripping the family apart in pretty heartbreaking ways. I'm not going to say anything more about the plot of the book, but just know that it is kind of a slow burn and very British in vibe. Gothic literature itself does tend to be a bit slower in pacing, so just keep that in mind if you want to pick up The 5th Child. But I promise you, this book will get under your skin. That's The 5th Child by Doris Lessing, and you can check it out from the JCAM library today. And that's all for this very special, very spooky episode of Books. Again, I'm Jocelyn, your spooky guide through all things dark and unnatural. And if you ever want any other horror book recommendations or horror movie recommendations, you can always reach out to me. I've got plenty to share, trust me. Don't forget to follow the JKM Library on Facebook and Instagram. We're at JKM Library on Instagram and Chatham's Jenny King Mellon Library on Facebook. If you want up-to-date information about the library's resources, services, events, etc., you can subscribe to our monthly e-newsletter. The link to that subscription form will be in the description below. Until next time, happy Halloween! Remember to stay safe, don't conjure any spirits this weekend, but instead settle in and get cozy with a good book. And of course, just a reminder, if you ever have any questions at all, even about the supernatural, you can always ask a librarian. Spooky reading!